Brains. So today I'm gonna go over the sections of the brain and identify the different areas, and we're gonna use this model here. It's kind of small, but you know, size doesn't matter, so whatever, right? First I wanted to talk about something important about the different cephalons first. So there were 4 different in the developing human. First there were 3 different cephalons. There was the prosencephalon, the mesencephalon, and the rhombencephalon. The prosencephalon gave rise to 2 different cephalons as well afterwards, the telencephalon and the diencephalon. And the mesencephalon just stayed as the mesencephalon. And the rhombencephalon gave rise to 2 other cephalon, the metencephalon and the myelencephalon. So that gives us a total of 5 different cephalons. Now, why am I talking about this? The cephalons give rise to different sections of the brain. So that's the telencephalon, the diencephalon, the mesencephalon, metencephalon, and the myelencephalon. The telencephalon is going to give rise to the different cerebral hemispheres. So the things that the parts of the 2 halves of the brain. The diencephalon is going to give rise to the thalamus and the hypothalamus and the epithalamus. So diencephalon gives rise to the various thalami. The mesencephalon gives rise to the midbrain. The metencephalon gives rise to the pons and the cerebellum, and the myelencephalon gives rise to the medulla oblongata. So telencephalon gives rise to the 2 different hemispheres. This is the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. If you look at it this way, or brain, skull, right hemisphere, left hemisphere. Now the diencephalon gives rise to the different thalami, which you can see in this cross section. The thalami are supposed to be here, so this one right here is supposed to be the thalamus. This long one right here, this little dot is, I suppose this one's supposed to be the hypothalamus. This is a really rudimentary and simple cross section, and this long one over here should be the epithalamus. The mesencephalon gives rise to the midbrain, and that would be, well, if we keep looking at this cross section, that should be like around here. Then there's the metencephalon, which gives rise to the pons over here, and the cerebellum, which is here. And then there's the myelencephalon, which gives rise to the medulla oblongata, that then connects with the spinal cord. Also, just so extra information, the different thalami, their functions are to regulate the body's voluntary motor control and their sleep-wake cycles, and the hypothalamus also controls your desire to eat and when to know if you're full or not, and those kind of functions. And this here, this light blue line, that's the corpus callosum, and that's what keeps the 2 hemispheres together and what kind of mediates communication between the 2 hemispheres. And another little information, also somewhere here in the midbrain should be the amygdala, somewhere around here, and that controls your anger, your fear, your big emotions. And somewhere around here, it doesn't show, but around here should be like the pituitary gland, which is the master gland that sends all these hormones throughout your body. Now here we have the cerebellum, and the cerebellum is important for balance and coordination and knowing, where your body is in relation to space. And inside, my hands. Inside we have these little things which are called arbor vitae, tree of life. They're important for, the coordination and such, and these little fibers, they transmit information, and they lead to different efferent projections, throughout out of the cerebellum. So now here, this is the cerebrum, which accounts for 75% of the brain. Focus here. All right. So this accounts for 75% of the total brain mass. Now let's talk about the different lobes here. Obviously we have the different hemispheres, the right and the left, but those aren't lobes. The first lobe that we're going to talk about is the frontal lobe, which is in the front of the brain. Very creative. The other ones, the frontal lobe, it helps with more complicated motor control, personality, higher order cognitive thinking. If you have damage in the frontal lobe, your personality will radically change, and you probably have a lot of trouble thinking. So here we have also the parietal lobe, which is a lot of sensory. It takes in it processes a lot of sensory information. So right here we have I was thinking auditory lobe, but it's called the temporal lobe. And this one is important for your sense of hearing. Processes that. And here, all the way in the back, this part right here, that's the occipital lobe, and it processes the information from your ojos, your eyes. Processes visual information. You see these wrinkles? These wrinkles are called, they're formed by two different structures, sulci and gyri. The sulci are the different, the foliants, like the different caverns of the brain, and the gyri are the different elevations, or the canyons themselves, the mountaintops. So these are gyri, the elevations that you see, and the little wrinkles that form them are the sulci. Now fissures are like even deeper grooves of the sulci, so even deeper sulci. Now the way we identify where the frontal lobe ends and where the parietal lobe begins is a place called the central sulcus cleft. The central sulcus is this long sulcus that separates the frontal from the parietal. And it's really hard to see because this is a really small model, but you kind of get an idea. Let's use it's supposed to run all along from here and separates both of them. Now, what separates the temporal from the parietal and from the parietal lobe is this fissure called the Sylvian fissure. This fissure right here, it's like a sulcus, but it's even deeper, and I think you can even tell from this model. It's like a very, very deep groove, and it separates the two of them. Now here at the bottom of the brain, you can see some of these the nerves, the cerebral nerves. Some of them you can see, some of them not too well. By the way, I don't know if I pointed this out already. This is the pons and the medulla oblongata. You can see very clearly the olfactory nerve, which is the first cerebral nerve, and there's these two long nerves that come out here. Right here, you see where the second cranial nerve is supposed to be, the occipital, this white surface on this yellow bit right here. You're supposed to have two nerve endings that come out. Then you have the oculomotor that also comes out here, and the trochlear, the trigeminal is supposed to come out from here. And then you have a bunch of others, abducent, facial, vestibulocochlear, glossopharyngeal, and then you have like vagus accessory hypoglossal that come out from here. But I'll probably show the cranial nerves in a different video with a better diagram, because this one is really small. Back where you belong.